Okay, it is. Alright, let's go ahead. Alright, so the next thing is background. So I was saying that in a style sheet, we don't need to include things like dot type, all these starter tags. All we need to do is go straight into the styling as it is. So the background color from our design is on whatever encloses everything, and from our coding, what encloses it is this section. That's what encloses everything. Rose, please come and open the door. Open the door. Section, background color. So this is the background color. I copied it from the file. Then the next thing that we need to specify is the border and the border radius. So the border is it is this background that has the border. So it's still going to be like designing this thing, this section, this thing. So here we go. Background color, border, still within the section. The border, how many pixels? I think 3 pixels, solid. Then the color of the border. So then the border radius. Border radius, let me say 5 pixel or 10 pixels. I'm just getting all these pixels. When we see it in the front end and it doesn't work well, doesn't look like what we want, then we can now modify it. So I have background color, the border. This 3 pixel is the thickness of the border, then the kind of border. So this solid is like just a line, and then the color of the border itself, then the border radius, how curved we want it to be. So that's all for, I think this text color and all that is going to be like the text color itself. It really doesn't have anything to do with the background. So we are done with this background. At this point, I want us to save here and save here. Very important before we check what we have done so far. Where's my background color? Okay, I'm supposed to have linked it already. So it's funny that That is not working. So what's wrong with my linking now? Because it's going to be that this style is already styled. This thing is already linked here. So let's debug the code together. So I would want to refresh and see. Probably it didn't save well. Still the same. Let me find this thing again. Oh, is it not this one? Style. Alright, it's working. There happens to be another style blah blah. Look at it here. So I put the wrong one. Okay, no, I've not done that yet. So let me put the right. So we have the right style. I've deleted that other fixed style blah blah. So that means I have to relink it. Since I've changed it, since I removed it from where I accessed it to another folder, it means it's on a different location. So this thing will not work anymore. So anything that has to do with altering positions, it will stop because you can't access it. It's in another location. So I have to change the location. I have to access it in its new location. So workspace. So before I just saw the style blah blah around there, whereas workspace was on its own. What am I doing? Style blah blah. Let's see. Here. But then it doesn't look this way because the only thing we decided to achieve first is the background, the border. The background and the border, that's the only thing we decided to achieve. So we have not achieved all this. So let's take a look at it again. Okay. So the next thing we want to do, looking at what he looks like now, I don't know, for me, I feel like we should make it smaller. So that will be, before we make it smaller, in this browser space, this horizontal orientation is the width. This one, like this, is the height. This vertical one is the height. So with browsers, the height can be as long as anything. You can keep scrolling. It's the content, number of content that determines it. But with the width is fixed because you can't keep scrolling to the side. So this entire width here is, if you don't want to use pixels to determine the width of this thing, you can do it relative to this entire width here is 100% of it. So we can say how many percent of this 100% do we want this width to take. No calculation involved, we just use our eyes to gauge it. So that's what I want to do here. If I close it, okay, so width. The width, we are still starting into this section because every other thing is resting on this thing, this section. So let's do this. Here we go, width and 30%. Let's work with 30%. So that means 30% of this entire space. Save and check. So this is 30% of the entire. It's better than, I would always like to use percentage when working with width, because I feel is a lot better than saying width 100 pixels. So now start increasing to, it's stressful. 300. I'd rather do that stress when it comes to heights and not really width. We can do that for height, but not width is something we can just see. 300. So whichever one you prefer works. So let's just leave it at this for now, but I would prefer percentage. So then we also want to look at the heights. We have a longer, anyway, let's not leave the height, let's not touch the height here, because if we don't touch the height, this height is determined by the number of content. In terms of, it's not really something complex, because it's like a rubber band. A div that is not the width is not specified, the height is not specified. It's like a rubber band. So before specifying this width, it just took up the entire width of this thing. If I keep adding contents here, let's say copy. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine. So I added more content. Oh, I added it outside this section. It has stretched because I added more content. So the height and the width actually most times depends on the content you put inside it. Unless you want to specify it. If you specify it and say I don't want it to just keep stretching, I want to stretch in a particular direction, then it will obey you. So let's take this irrelevant content out of the way. So let's go back to our structure now. I've forgotten what to do. That's why this is very, very necessary. So the next thing is text color, position, and button color. So the text color here is starting with this one, and copy this and put it here. Oh, so now that we want to start with text color, so this is a little quiz. Are we still going to style it to section? Or is there, which of these tags between section H2, because I want to determine the color of this one first before this one. But with this one, which of these tags am I going to style to H2? That's why I did not vex too much for you. Because I know that when you are free, you don't stress somebody actually. Just like that. I used 3 hours to do this for someone, and we didn't still finish. To tell you, I'm not watching you, and we're almost done. Okay, so I didn't use the right brackets. I use square brackets. This is curly brackets. The other one is square brackets. This other one is square brackets. Curly brackets. So say color, not font color, because the makers decided not to add fonts before it. Font color, I'd already copied the code, so this is an X code, it needs hash sign before it, so it has gotten the color that I want. I also want to specify the color of the P tag. If I should not allow somebody's thing blow. Now they're supposed to take light, they won't take light though. They shouldn't take light anyways. So we have two P tags here. This is another wahala here. Minor one. We have two P tags, and by our design,
Just add a name to
if I vexed for you before, just forgive me. That's just the answer. So let me call it, I will not call it cat, but no, to be relevant now, I want to call it description, because it's good to use relevant names sometimes. But if you see my codes, usually filled with cats and dogs. I don't really used to have that patience. So description. You're supposed to find it, or since they work together, maybe I type description. Okay, I didn't use dots because they are now connected. It's supposed to bring it out. So the color of this one is okay, it's the same color. So since it's the same color, I would have done combined now, but let's separate it, because I can now do something like this: h2 dot description, combine everything, but we have not gotten to combine selectors, so let me separate it so that we can see clearly, see it better. So color, so the next text there is button. The button color is, anyway, so it's one of these design rules that you use uniform colors. So I didn't put, except you're trying to create a contrast. So in creating contrast, what I use in creating contrast here is the font width. But if all these fonts were to be the same color, this one is designed now, just to have just design edits. If this was to be like this, like our design was meant to be all bold, our design would be ugly like this. So in that case, we need to now create contrast with it by making this one lighter. So it's going to look a lot appealing. Getting a perfect shade, something like that, and some other things that would have tweaks. But contrast in designs are it brings out the beauty of design. But I use it's best. It's best to me that I use the font width to create contrast. So the next thing is the button. So let's treat the button issue there. Let's see how we wrote it. We wrote it button and proceed within. So we can just style straight on button. But you may have more buttons in your website that will look differently. So most times it's best to use classes when it comes to buttons. So you separate them, because most times you don't want your buttons to be alike, but in this case we don't really need to do that. So the color of the button, we're going to use a background color of the same code. Then the next thing is the second P. I've not put in a class name yet within this P. Oh, really? Yeah. Really? So you paid for us? Thank you. Okay, okay. We can start today. Oh. Is it too late? It's not around. Okay. I'm not reasoning anymore. We can start today. You will come and meet us. Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, so yes, thank you very much for my unethical practice. And we are going to be hearing this inside my recording. Surprise. See. So I can come here and say price. Next time we are going to do anything styling. You really want to style it up watching you. Because I think you are following very fast. So let's say the color is white. I'm just assuming that I use white there. So let me use this kind of. Let me be sure so that it's very identical. Yeah, it's white. I said it. This is the code for white. FFFFFFF. Then the code for black is DDDDDD or 000000. So we have color white. I can just decide those keywords to use white instead of codes. It will those 13 or 14 colors that we add. White is part of it. So now that we have all these ones tagged, let's see how it looks like now. So it's our proceeding take shape. Okay, we didn't style the text. Okay. We only styled the background color. So color white. Your project is to replicate this thing. Oh, and I'm recording it. You would make it 3 in your project. It's the second and the third one. But I'm going to give you a hint on how to position it. That one I would send that to you. So now the next thing is to make it centralized. So this is another quiz. Which of these tags, I think we can remember that this H2 is paragraph and all that, are we supposed to centralize? Because I'm going to use text align. Which one would automatically centralize everything? Because I want to do everything because my design is everything is at that center. So
text align center.
Okay, but which of the tags am I going to fix it to? Do you need to look at the HTML file?
I think we'll fix it. Let me see. I have to fix it at header section.
Hey, I feel like jumping. You do not understand what it means to repeat a class for someone 2 months and just is not getting it. Like, are you serious? Somebody just got it like this for the first time. I feel like crying. Please don't feel embarrassed. You don't understand when the stress sometimes, and you just have to keep smiling as you're even stressed and encouraging the person. So text align center. So okay, you got it right, but just to add to it so I remember, it's because if we come here to say text align center, it will work. If we come here, it will work, but it will work for only P, it will work for only button. So we can come to each of these places and doing text align center, text align center. Maybe that's what I could have done at this stage, but you have already flown ahead of this stage. But putting it in section is because in design rule, CSS rule, kind of, this is the major drum. So this is the rubber band. This is what is holding everything. So everything will take the shape that you decide on this one. So we are saying in this umbrella or this mother tag, everything inside it, I don't care the tag you are, aligned to the center. So that's the command we just did. So it's going to work. Let's check it out. I need to do this. Guys, with your pace we are slow. Like you're supposed to be cracking bones by now. I'll prepare for you the time. We are really slow. No, we cannot be slow, but this train is getting too slow. Should have been cracking bones. JavaScript. Alright, so this is it. So now what we need to do is all this, because from what we have here, anytime you're tired because it's past 4, you can let me know. We need to make this thing look like weights long. Looking at it now, because I didn't pre-do this project, we are doing it together fresh. It looks like I need to maneuver the height here for it to be long. It looks like that. But if you maneuver the height, what will happen is this thing will drop to this level, but this content will remain here. So we're going to have empty space. So, but that's one way. So I'm trying to find the solution. So that solution won't work. But if we push this thing down, we can decide to centralize this one and push this one down. But then we are still going to have space up, space down, which does not look like our design, kind of. So this will introduce me. This will bring me now to something we call box model. I've not talked about it. Just 1 second to take time. Hello, sir. Okay, sir. I'll do that. Your what? I'm not getting it, sir. Your it's on now. It's all positive. Try. I really want to wait for you. Life of a woman. Oh, wow. Okay, let's go on. I know we will not be able to exhaust this project, but we will exhaust it in a way. So I want to introduce something to you now. I don't think I've introduced. Try to remember. I'm mixing your classes up. So this is what I want to show us. Box model. Now in box model, let's look at this keyboard. I think this keyboard really helps us. Most of our designs are like this keyboard. Then this keyboard is on top of something called background. Then in itself, when we look around, there is, outside this keyboard, there is space. But there is a space between the keyboard and this space. This thing here is the border. This is the border. This is the padding. The space between the keyboard and the border is the padding. What is resting on is the background. This entire space, the space between this border and this place, is the margin. That is everything about box model. So on design, let's assume that this is our browser space. This is our browser. If you have a design like this is the design here. Let's not use this color. It's already having border there. So let me put in a text. A. Caps letter A. So this is an element. There is a background, it's resting on something, and it's usually white or transparent until you give it a color. That's why we usually specify background color. Then when we say background color, we are now giving that background a color. So you can decide to give it, you want to give it a color now. So most times when we say background color, this is what we get. This is what we get, like this. It will just be around the elements. Then any space around is what we find. These are the background will be. Now, what we have is the element, the background. Then all this white space is margin. Margin in sense of the space between the element and the end of the browser. So it's the margin, the margin. Then when we say padding, padding is when we want to extend the background. The background, we want to extend it. So we have added padding because actually this computer could have ended here. So this is to make it look more beautiful most times, or to position it. Another thing that we use padding for, to give it space, to position it, or to make it nicer. Then we can just have a padding that is an extension of the background and now have margin. Or we can decide to now say within this background, this padding is just the space between this edge, just this extra space. This extra space. So the extension of the background and the space it's given, that's the padding. We can now say that let's give it a border. A border of, let me use a color that is very obvious. Make it bigger. This is the border. This is the border. So this thing I just said is called box model. So every element we find has a background. May not have a padding, we set it. May not have a border, we set it. But always has a margin. That is why our elements, this place, there's always a default margin. This is the margin. This is also the margin from this angle. It doesn't have a padding. It doesn't have a padding. We just have background, and it's usually box. That's why we have this space. So in other words, I think if we decide to increase the padding of this thing, it will increase evenly. And then if we increase the padding of each of these individual elements, it will spread evenly. So after this padding, we can allow you to go and rest. Padding top. Padding top. 10 pixels. So what I want us to see is the common sense involved. It manipulating your programs, your codes to produce your results. So there's no fixed rule. Coding makes you be who you want to be, because some other people will use some other routes, and it's up to them. The most important thing is we get the same destination. So that's the effect of, let me just do that's like I'm typing. Okay, it has extended but not very well, but then it keeps extending. Don't stop here. Don't stop here.
Oh, it's finished.
So I'm using 40 pixels. So it's doing it very evenly. Let me end at 50. So let's stop here, because the next class I want to change this font to look like this font that we have here. The font width and how to embed fonts, which is like a class of its own. Let me stop here for today. Okay. Alright, so I need to send you the video now. Okay.